Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 3 of 7 podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by a company that is near and dear to my heart called Xoskin. Hey guys, I use this gear from head to toe whenever I am out ultra running, whenever I'm out backpacking, anytime I'm going to be out moving and generating heat, generating sweat. Just for all of my activities, I'm covered in Xoskin, literally from my shoulders down to my feet. This is an outstanding product. It's designed by a gentleman named Rick, and Rick actually helped design a lot of the life-saving gear that we used in the SEAL teams. He is the master of his trade. Rick has designed this fabric to where it channels moisture and body sweat away from the skin, so you don't retain moisture, you don't retain salt and have salt build up in those areas that we all chafe in. It has rapid dry copper technology. What that means in layman terms is Rick has designed this fabric to where it does not retain odor. It just doesn't stink. You can wear these things for multiple days, multiple workouts, and you don't have to throw them in the wash because they just do not retain odor-causing bacteria. If you want to learn more about Xoskin, please go to their website. It's Xoskin, that's xoskin.us. And if you decide to purchase some of their gear, they have provided us with a pro code that you guys can use to get a discount on all your purchases. That pro code is 3 of 7. That's the number 3 of the number 7, no spaces. Give it a shot. Reach out to us. Let us know what you think. All this stuff is made in America, 100%. That also means a lot to me. So give them a try, guys. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I'll share with you a story. When I got to the start line for SEAL training, nothing was going to stop me, man. I had been through the furnace of adversity prior to even stepping on the start line. None of that mattered. I was there. There was nothing going to stop me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 3 of 7 podcast. I've got my man Jeff Reid here with us today. Also got Blake right here. So Jeff Reid, I served with Jeff in the SEAL teams. And I'll just go ahead and tell you about Jeff. He's one of those few guys that no one ever had anything bad to say about in the SEAL teams. And in the teams, you know, it's such a small group. Your reputation is everything, and everybody knows every little mistake that you made. And it's you meet very few guys with that flawless reputation. Well, Jeff Reid's one of those guys, and we're just so thankful to have him on today. Another thing about Jeff that I think is noteworthy is, and this is powerful for me, when my wife was battling with addiction, and she was in rehab, and I was, you know, all by myself. Jeff was the one dude that stuck by my side that entire time. And, you know, I lived outside of town, way out in Suffolk, Virginia. And I can remember Jeff driving his old Dodge truck out there an hour from Virginia Beach to my house just to check in and see how I was doing and how I was handling everything. And, you know, that's something that, I mean, I'll never forget the rest of my life, because he was the one, man. So thank you, Jeff. I don't think I've ever formally thanked you for that since those days, brother. But just I want you to know how much that meant to me then, and how much it means to me now, and how much it means to me to have you here with us today on the show, brother.
Bro, I'm just honored to be here, man. It's so awesome to see you and actually get to talk to you again since all that. And dude, you would have done the same for me, and I'm just happy to have you as a friend, man. It's awesome.
That's the truth, brother. That is the truth, Jeffrey. And you know, like I told you earlier, you know, I can't start off this episode without telling some old stories. And
people don't want to hear these stories. They can kind of just fast forward through and get to the meat of it. But me and Jeff, where we really built our bond and our brotherhood and friendship was out at Fort Chaffee, Arkansas. We were both instructors out at Land Warfare. And what our day consisted of is we would get up before sunrise. We'd drive out, climb in a deer stand, and it would be cold. I mean, cold to me, probably not cold to Jeffrey anymore. But
it was cold. It was cold.
Man, some of these days it would be just bone chilling cold. And we'd sit up in our stands and we'd hunt all day long until about noon, 1 o'clock. We'd climb down out of the stand. Then we'd go to this Mexican house. What was that Mexican house called, Jeffrey?
Oh, man, what was that called? It was in Greenville.
Yeah, you remember we'd get that Don Poncho burrito or something. Yeah. And this thing was like a 3-pound burrito. We'd eat that. We'd both eat one of those burritos and sit around and just talk about our, the first half of the day. And then we'd go get back in our stands. We'd hunt all the way till dark. We'd have our work gear in the truck with us. We'd climb down out of our stands at dark, put our body armor and our night vision on and our radios on, and then we'd go work most of the night out running IADs with the guys. That was
the days. Those were the days. I remember we would sit there and after, while we're eating, and we would like looking back like 10 years from now, we'll look back and be like, dang it, we're doing it right, man. We're hunting first half of the day, and then we're shooting guns and training guys how to blow stuff up the second half of the day.
Yep. I have to say, man, that's probably one of the best winters of my life. It was just amazing. And there's a couple hunts that stand out to me. One that I particularly remember, a deer hunt, was when you shot at that monster buck, dude. And I think you ended up hitting a tree or something. But man, I remember you were tore out the frame, brother.
No, to get to that point. I have to explain that whole scenario. So it was one of those really cold mornings again. I think it was like maybe in the teens, which is really cold for Arkansas. And it was in January. It was late. It was a late season hunt. And what happened was it was a bunch of does came in. It was probably like three does came in, and they were like within 10 yards of me. And I'm like, I'm so cold. I'm just going to shoot one of these does just to get me out of the stand and end my day right here. Cause I was about over it. I'm sitting there like getting ready to like pull back, and I look off to my left, and it was like one of those outdoor channel hunting shows, like a big buck walking, lip curled, and he was so close I could hear him grunting as he was walking, and I was like, oh crap, this is the biggest buck I've ever seen. I pull back and I'm thinking, okay, crap, I didn't range. Where's this big daddy at right now? And I'm like, he looks like he's maybe 20 yards. So I just first pinned it, and it went way over him. But that buck was so into the does that he didn't even flinch. He just like literally turned to his right, looked at me, stayed broadside, and I real carefully knocked another arrow, and he didn't run away. He just was looking right at me. I pull back, pull up, shoot again, and it went right over the same spot. And then after that, he took off running. So that's like part of the reason why I was so like ticked off. Like I rushed that second shot on the biggest buck who gave me two chances, still blew it.
Dude, you were tore up. You probably tore up the rest of the month after that.
He didn't even eat a Don Poncho after that.
No, man.
Oh, man. I should have went vegan after that. Just I didn't deserve it.
So that was a memorable hunt. The other one that really, I got two more. The second one that really stuck out to me, man, was when me and you was out there. We were hog hunting, because the deer season was over, and we were going up that one big valley, and we had just went up to the outdoor store and bought this hog call. And man, we didn't know what in the world. So here we are, two Navy SEALs out here with this hog call. We didn't know what we were doing. And I said, hold on a minute, Jeffrey, let me hit this thing and see what happens. And I hit that hog call, and I bet it won't. 15 seconds later, here come these two massive coyotes running down the opposite ridge down into this valley. And Yeah, you take it from there, Jeffrey. You remember that hunt?
Oh yeah, yes. Well, before that, I think the first time we did that, because weren't we laying by a creek?
Yeah.
We were laying right by that creek there, and yeah, they came running by, and I was like, dude, there's coyotes coming. And you're like, it's like, I was like, get your bow ready. I don't think they see us. And they crossed that creek, and as soon as they broke through that brush, they're like, oh crap. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. These jokers, and these were big coyotes, man. They run right into our laps. And I'm hunting with a recurve bow. And Jeffrey, I think you had your compound probably.
Yeah.
But anyhow, they just run right into our laps. And with the recurve bow, you can get it up and get it in action a lot faster than a compound because it's just all instinctual shooting. So this coyote, they cross the creek, he stops broadside, and I draw back and just launch an arrow probably 20 yards and nail this coyote with a recurve bow, man, and put him down. I don't think he ran far. I think I put him down right there pretty quick.
Yeah, I think he ran maybe 40 yards.
Yep. And then, so the last hunt was the one you just mentioned earlier, Jeff. It was the last day of the season, man. It was maybe not the last day of the season, but it was the last day that we were going to be out there for that.
Yeah.
For that,
that block of training.
That block of training. Yeah, when we got back, it was going to be the end of deer season. So, man, we went out and laid waste, brother.
Yeah. So but we didn't realize the repercussions of what we did until that following night, once we finally got back to the compound. Because what we ended up getting how many deer did you get?
I killed 3 massive does. I shot deer until I ran out of arrows, and I ended up killing 3 massive does. And then how many did you kill, Jeffrey?
I got 2. So we butchered 5. Was it 5 then? You said 3 does? Yeah. So we had 5 deer to butcher, and we didn't start until, what was it, like 8 or 9 o'clock that evening. We were butchering deer till 3 o'clock in the morning, had enough time to go get a shower and get our bags packed and jumped on the plane.
Yep. Yeah, we were flying out that next morning, and we were in like this little back room that was like it was like for the instructors only, but it ain't like we had stainless tables and like good equipment. Like we were on plywood tables, and here we are with 5 deer. And yeah, we spent all night. We had to scrounge coolers all around the compound all evening just to fit all this meat in. And I bet we packed 300 pounds of meat back on that plane ride, man.
How about that forearm workout? Because we were sitting there on that old hand grinder just going away at it, man.
I do not recommend that. I do not recommend a hand grinder to anyone. That thing was terrible.
Did y'all pack all your processing stuff?
No, we just, whatever we could find. And we, if we needed anything, we'd go up to the local outdoor store. And of course, we were cheap back then. Jeffrey's always been a tightwad. He was tighter than me, man. So
I ain't saying much.
Anytime I went shopping with Jeffrey, we'd always end up buying the cheapest thing we could find. And that's how we ended up with a hand grinder.
But guess what? We saved all that money.
Yeah, we did.
A little bit of sweat, man.
We did, brother. Man, those were some good days, my man. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
I love reflecting on that, brother. Yeah, the only other one I remember distinctly is when I shot that. I think I had shot it was either you or me had shot a doe, and it was snowing out that day, and we tracked them little pinheads of blood. I mean, just little pinhead drops for miles, dude. Never found that one.
That was probably one of my lowest moments ever hunting. Because what I did is she showed up, and I pulled back and I shot. And actually, so everyone who's listening to this, if you get a bow done at Bass Pro or Cabela's, make sure you're getting it checked. Because what was happening was I just thought I was a terrible shot with a bow. And I could hit within the kill zone, but it wasn't always in the right, I wasn't grouping really well. And I just thought I was a bad shot. And then I actually, after that, you shot, well, we'll just tell you what happened. I ended up shooting where I thought I had the pin on the deer's, the bread basket there, right on the heart and lung. And it was to the left and actually hit her in the guts. It's behind her. Yeah. And once she got back up, there was no blood. I mean, we lost her, and actually, like, I started shooting constantly after that, and I still couldn't narrow in my groupings, and that took me to let you shoot my bow, and you're like, dude, this thing's way off. So then I think I took it to like Gelco's or Jelco's there in Chaffee area, and they were like, yeah, whoever set this bow up did not do it right. So if you get a bow at Bass Pro or Cabela's, man, get that thing tuned in by someone who knows what they're doing.
There he goes, trying to penny pinch again, dude. Trying to get Bass Pro to set it there. There he goes.
You know what I was shooting to? It was a G5. I think the whole bow package cost like $200.
Told you, man. Did you whittle those arrows you were shooting?
I actually found them in a dumpster and I pulled them out.
Epic, dude. That is epic, my brother. Oh man. All right. That's enough hunting stories. Yeah. So again, Jeff Reid, guys, this is the owner and founder of Frozen Trident Kennels. And if you haven't checked out Frozen Trident Kennels and what they're all about and what Jeff's all about and these missions that he goes on, you got to take a look at their website. You got to follow Jeff on Instagram. I'll attach both those in the show notes of this podcast. But just an amazing individual. Jeff, you've come a long way since them days in Fort Chaffee, man. And, I remember you, just kind of mentioning loosely back then that you'd always dreamed of moving up to Alaska and just living that life out there in the wilderness, man, and just adventuring. And, that's what me and you love to do. And you made it happen, brother. But I don't think what people realize, what people can't see is what it took to get there, brother. And I remember the years that you spent away from your wife and your family and all the time that you spent alone and all the effort and hardship that you endured now to get to the place that you are. That's just, it's amazing that you've been able to carry out your dreams and make your dreams happen the way you have, man.
Yeah, it's not what you see is maybe on my side, but like you nailed it, man. It's also the family too. Like Jerry stood beside me from first deployment, and like the one thing I don't even know if like my close family from back home even realizes, like, once you go to combat and you experience that, you're not the same ever. Like once you're exposed to that, part of you is going to change. And when you get back, especially around your like real close family, they expect you to kind of act like you were before you left, and that's not who you are anymore. And so I found myself kind of like trying to fake who I am today, kind of meshing it into who I was back before to try to make other people happy. And it started, man, I wasn't in a great place. And especially once I got out of the military, I lost like this, like when you kind of lose your friends, kind of like they still got the mission going on and they need to keep moving forward. And you got a new mission of your own. You got to try to find your way. And as I was looking for it, I thought that it was the 9-to-5 route, that's how you make a living, right? That's how everyone does it. But I was miserable trying to figure that out. And like when I would try to find the job that I wanted to do, it just like I wasn't fulfilled. Like I was like, because what I was originally planning on doing when I got out was going to be a John Deere mechanic, actually. And it's just like, yeah, I like working on cars and vehicles and stuff, but I don't know if I could do that for somebody else, not 5 days a week through, and 12 months out of the year. But so I remember just like, I wasn't really happy, wasn't fulfilled. And Jerry, I got to give credit where credit is due. Is like, what is it that you want to do? And I rarely told anybody what it was because it was such a crazy idea to go up to Alaska and get a sled dog kennel and have all these adventures. Like you're one of the only people that I really told that to, my buddy PJ and a buddy Chris. But like, other than that, I kept it a secret because you tell people in the teams, you're walking away from that big sign-on bonus, the next rank and more leadership and all that stuff. And then they're like, you're crazy. Why are you doing it? So I kept that a secret. Very, very people knew what I was like. That was the plan. But Jerry was more like, when she's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, that's kind of what I want to do. And she was like, well, get a plan. If you can find it and figure out a way. And so that's all I needed. And then the rest is history. So what I did is actually, I was still in Arkansas. And when I started going down this route is I emailed every sled dog kennel I could Google. I just Googled sled dog kennels in Alaska. And meanwhile, my wife was in school in Potsdam, New York for a physician assistant. And I knew she was going to have to be near like a place where she could work and like near a hospital. So be near a city. So I found a bunch of kennels near Fairbanks. And I just sent out like 15 emails. It's like, hey, I'm going to be getting out of the military at this time, and I want to move up to Alaska. I have zero experience. So get to paint the picture here. This was the goal without ever being around a sled dog. I've never harnessed a sled dog. When I was in Alaska, was during SEAL training with SQT, and that was in Kodiak, so it wasn't even in the interior. So all this was just an idea I had in my head that it's what I wanted to do. But so I was like, I'm just going with it, because if it was one of those things where it's like, if I don't do this now, I don't know if I ever will. Like Jerry's finishing school, I'm just getting out of the military. We literally have 2 blank slates. So if I don't do this now, there's never going to be an easier time than to do it now. So I just started going down that route, and I sent out all those emails. I got in touch with Ali Zirkle and Alan Moore from SP Kennel. And Ali is a Yukon Quest champion and a 3-time Iditarod champion. And Alan Moore is a 3-time Yukon Quest champion. And they said they're going to be needing a handler for that following winter that I was going to potentially be moving up here. And so I was like, this could be like this is like a golden opportunity to learn from some of the best mushers in the game. And so I kept that like in my pocket, kind of like kept emailing with him throughout that following winter. And then Jerry graduated school, and we got a puppy, Eleanor, who is a wolf hybrid, and up in Potsdam. I think we got her in April, and there was still a little bit of snow up in upstate New York then in April. And that dog freaking loved the snow. She would just roll around in it, and it was kind of like the push we needed to like kind of like, okay, this dog loves the snow, doesn't like hot weather. Let's go someplace. And so Jerry started applying to jobs up in Alaska. The day she graduated, and after she graduated in May from PA school, she got on a plane, flew to Fairbanks, and did a job interview. Ended up getting a job in Fairbanks. And after she secured her job, I sent another email out to Allie and Alan at SP Kennel, telling them I'm really interested in getting a job with them that following winter. They said that they're in need of a handler. So that's kind of how everything lined up before we even moved out there. So we were always kind of searching for those opportunities. When an opportunity presented itself, we freaking attacked it and took it. And so we actually stayed in our hometown, moved to Pennsylvania that summer, stayed in our hometown, visited, hung out with family, and I worked with her dad. She has a dairy farm, so I worked there that summer. And in August that year, I think it was August of 2017, me, Jerry, my dad, and my sister, and my dog drove from Pennsylvania up to Alaska. And that's whenever our journey like really began for the Frozen Trident. We got a little place right outside of Fairbanks off of Chino Hot Springs Road, just like heading out of town. And I drove that day. Every day I drove about 22 miles both ways. So actually like 46 or 44 miles total every day to work for Allie and Alan and learn how to be a musher essentially. And that winter, whenever an opportunity for me to take on more responsibility presented itself, I took it. Like the first day, all I did was scoop dog shit essentially, and maybe like scoop food into a bucket for dogs. So I went from being a Navy SEAL, like running and gunning and teaching people how to blow stuff up, to literally all I'm doing is picking up poop and feeding dogs. But I knew that was what it was going to take for me to gain more responsibility. So I was like, I'm going to be the best poop scooper, the best dog feeder anyone's ever seen. And hopefully that they'll see that, trust me with more. Next thing you know, a few weeks later, I'm running my own dog teams out of their yard now. And this is pretty crazy. I thought, because I never was around a sled dog before. So, and then eventually I'm running teams by myself. And then I'm training up the race teams, taking the race teams out for a run. And then Alan went on to do the Yukon Quest that year, and with some of the dogs that I helped train. And well, we'll back it up real quick. I did my first 200. They let me do a 200-mile race before that, with some of their younger dogs, and that was a huge eye-opening experience. I just scratched from that race at the last checkpoint, leaving the last checkpoint. And what
happened there, Jeff?
So what I learned was from that. So what happened is I had a bunch of younger dogs, and I just didn't know how to push them. Like there's a fine line between working dogs by working too hard and running them to the point where they no longer think the harness is a fun thing. And there's a line with them being too soft on them. And I was being way too soft. That's what it came down to. I didn't know how to run the dogs right. But it's better to be too soft than to be too hard, especially if they're not your own dogs, you know? So what happened was I went into the last checkpoint. Some of the younger dogs were being really slow. We were just really slow, and so the younger dogs, I just dropped without knowing that they could have kept going. So I had a smaller team to begin with. And then when I left that last checkpoint, we ran about 10 miles, and it was a 70-mile run, and it was up in the mountains and stuff. And we just started going up in the hills, and I noticed one of the dogs was limping, and I went up, and the dog had a swollen wrist, and it wasn't even that bad. But I didn't know anything at the time. So I was like, oh crap, I got to turn around and run back. So that's what I did. I just ran back and had to withdraw from the race. But that was a huge learning point, because there's no amount of ego or yourself pushing that. There's no amount of effort that you can do to make the dogs better, because it's all within the dogs. What you can control is what I learned is your positive mental attitude, even if it's fake, which we got really good at, and Buds and the SEAL teams having that fake positive mental attitude at times, and just having good vibes and just being a positive person. That's going to feed off the team. And not that I was negative out there, but I just didn't know. I knew nothing about dog mushing. But then, so that following, I could run 50-mile runs or 70-mile runs, but in a race, and it's completely different. But that, I think it was in a few weeks after that, Alan Moore started the Yukon Quest, which is a 1,000-mile dog race it started in Fairbanks and ended in Whitehorse that year. And then the next year it swaps. It starts in Whitehorse and ends in Fairbanks. But that race, that 1,000-mile race, I got to go to nearly all the checkpoints and help Alan along that. And that is when I learned how to be a dog musher. Seeing the line of what the dogs can do and what a musher can do opened my eyes immensely. And a month after that, Allie and Alan let me go do another 200-mile race, because I think they were worried that that one might have left a negative mark on me. And I ended up finishing 6th. So I learned so much in that period of time from watching Alan. So I have ADD, and I just skipped a big part of that story. So Alan ended up going on and winning the Yukon Quest that year by a lot. And being a part of that team and seeing how to manage the dogs, how you can push the dogs, the different dog care tricks and techniques you can use, and just seeing how to be a good dog person. I mean, that was invaluable. I learned so much from just watching him during that race, that I was able to take a lot of his strategy and techniques and incorporate him into my 200-mile race that I just failed at 2 months ago, and end up placing within the money and finishing 6th in another 200-mile race.
What do those races consist of? Like, how many dogs are you running? Do you change them out? What's required of you?
Yeah, so it's all in the type of racing, because there's sprint racing, there's mid-distance racing, and then there's long-distance racing. Sprint racing is I would say anything 50 miles and in, and mid-distance I would say is 100 miles and 500 miles, and anything over 500 miles would be a long-distance race. What I was doing is the mid-distance races, and the way they're broken up is there's checkpoints along the way. And a dog can't run from the first start line all the way without stopping. Like they got to stop and rest. And with the mid distance racing, you're running with teams of 12. The long distance races like the Iditarod and Yukon Quest, you're running with dog teams of 14. And so when you leave the checkpoint, or when you leave the start chute, and you just start the first leg, maybe 50 miles and maybe 70 miles, but you get into a checkpoint, and then you got to have your strategy. Like, okay, what do I do? What I do is first thing I do is I lay down a straw for all the dogs, because the dogs are trained to see straw and they think bedtime. When they see the straw laid out, the first thing to do is like, okay, I'm getting cozy and dozy. You know, I'm getting my bed situated. And as they're getting comfortable, then I'm going around and taking dog booties off the dogs. Each dog has a booty on each paw, because it's not to keep their feet warm. It's to keep the snow and ice build up from inside their pads. And if they get ice and snow build up, they're going to crack pads and get splits in their paws. So it's to protect their paws. I take off all their booties. And then what I do is I have a dog food cooker that runs off of methanol. Also like heat is what it's called. And I dump heat or methanol in there. I'll light it. And then I have an insert that goes inside of that. And I just start shoveling snow in there. And then I melt snow into water. And then I bring that water to a boil. Once I get a rolling boil with the water, I have a cooler where I have kibble and some like beef or chicken skins or salmon. And I dump the hot water in that. And I make like a stew or a slurry for the dogs to eat. I then close the lid, and then I go back down the line. And I start looking at the dogs, and I'll go through and maybe massage some of them, start putting ointment on feet. If a dog is showing signs of maybe has like an upset stomach or isn't eating, or back up. So after that's done cooking, what I'll do is I'll let the dogs. I make sure the dogs are bedded down for like an hour and a half before I feed, because like a lot of times if I work out hard, I'm not going to want to eat right away after that. Like I want a little bit of time to recover. And once I get a little bit of recovery, then I'm hungry. I think it's the same way with the dogs. So once they get a little bit of rest time, I'll go back out and feed them. And if a dog is showing signs like not eating, sometimes it could just be like, oh, they just want a little company. And I know like there's one dog I have, Buttercup, who's kind of a picky eater. Sometimes I have to like feed her from my hand during a race because she's just a weirdo. But that's just because my dogs can be that way, and I let them, I guess. But so I know each of my dogs' personalities, and if one's not acting right, I'll try to dive into like what's going on with them. And if it's something that's gonna they shouldn't run anymore, then you can drop them. So you can get rid of dogs off your team, but you can't bring any more dogs onto your team. So if you start with 12, you can finish with 12 or less. You can't come back with like 13 or you can't. And each dog that you start with, that isn't dropped. Like if you would lose a dog, you get disqualified. So like if a dog will get away and run away, you have to finish with the dogs you left, or the dogs get dropped, kind of thing. So a lot of times if you might be at a checkpoint for 3 hours or whatever, you may only you yourself may only have like an hour to yourself to get any food or water or sleep, because you're constantly worrying about the dogs and taking care of the dogs. And you may have a handler. The handler can't do anything for the dogs. They can't help feed. They can't help booty. They can't help do anything for the dogs. But what they can do is while you're away, they can make sure the dogs don't end up breeding another dog, or they can make sure if a dog fight would break out, that they break it up. And so you can step away from your team and know that they're going to be looked after, but you can't have someone else like booting your dogs and stuff. Now, once the dogs are fed and you're getting ready to leave, you have to booty them and clip them back up to the lines. And if you have 12 dogs and you're putting on 4 booties every paw, that's a lot. That takes some time. So I usually give myself an hour before the time I want to leave and the time I start getting ready, like getting the dogs ready. And sometimes, like if the dogs may be a little bit tired or stiff, you kind of just walk them around, give them a little bit of a walk, or let them kind of give them a massage and loosen them up and get them like just an athlete like Chad and Blake. You run ultras too, don't you? Or
yeah,
it's just probably the same thing for you guys. Before you get ready to go again, you're kind of walking around, stretching, and it's the same thing with the dogs. Before you get them go, you get them a good massage and get them loose and ready to go, and it's the same thing. Then you go to your next checkpoint, and then you kind of have a plan to where you kind of, all right, this one I'm going to stay at 6 hours. And so I did a 300-mile race last year, and I believe I did that in like 36 hours. I ran 300 miles in 36 hours.
Wow. Holy smokes, dude!
And I finished
some.
18th. Yeah, I was in the middle of the pack, so it wasn't like I wasn't up front or anything. The top of the pack really, and the Iditarod, those people were finishing within like 8-9 days. They're running 1,000 miles in 8 or 9 days.
Gosh, that's unbelievable, man. I'm gonna tell you, Jeff. Yeah. There's so much to unpack in the stories that you just told us, brother. And I hope people are reading between the lines and seeing where they can apply everything that you just talked about to their own lives. To me, this is so much deeper than just dog mushing. This is all stuff that is applicable to us as human beings, man. And just to start with, the way you made your dream happen, talk about entrepreneurship, man. The way that you were able to humble yourself and start back from the bottom, man. And the way that you were able to break things down and really just conquer and crush what was right in front of you, not looking too far down the road, not reaching too far ahead, but crushing the task that was on the table, knowing that would eventually lead to the place that you wanted to get to within your dream, within your business, man. And this is all just notes that I've took, dude, because this is so much to unpack. You know, and then too, you know, when you were talking about when you and Jerry were getting ready to move out to Alaska, and you were reaching out to all these kennels out in Alaska, man, you didn't wait for anybody to tell you what to do. You took the effort into your own hands, and you went seeking the people that you needed to help you reach the place that you wanted to get. You didn't stand around and wait for somebody to tell you what to do or to hand something to you. You took initiative, man. And that's the spirit of entrepreneurship right there, dude.
You got to realize that your dreams aren't going to come to you looking for fulfillment, right? Like if you want to accomplish something, you got to be the one to take the first step, right? The old adage, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, right? So you got it, and Jerry got the ball rolling for me by saying, come up with a plan. Come up with a plan. If you want to do it, come up with a plan. And it's not with what I wanted to do was so unique, I guess. It like coming up with a plan was, it was going to take a lifestyle adjustment. But if you plan for it, you can kind of see like, okay, for me to do this, like I know I am better than just scooping poop and feeding dogs, but putting myself in the shoes of somebody else, like if I have someone working for me and they come in with a chip on their shoulder, like I'm not going to let that person do it. Like I'm just going to want to like shoo that person aside and make him scoop poop the rest of his life. Like you need to be humble a little bit because you're in a field that you don't know anything about. And I realized that. And that's part of like when I came up with my plan, I was like, be the person that I would want me to work for myself. Like be the employee that you would want. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I was always trying to go above and beyond what I was already, and I was trying to think ahead. Like, okay, like we're scooping poop now, but we're going to get ready for a run. So I want to organize the booties and then get ready for the run. So that when they ask, all right, let's go celebrate, they're already done kind of thing.
That's it, brother.
So it's all in like plan for your own investment, like advancement. And yeah, so like if like you're planning to like eventually be trusted to go, for me, I wanted to go out on my own. That was like my number one thing. And in order for me to do that, the plan was to gain trust. So I had to gain trust within the people that own the dogs. And so that's how I kind of started. And it's like, well, the best way to gain trust is just be a great employee and be there and be reliable. So that's how that started. And then it's like, and again, it's finding opportunities and taking them when they're there and not hesitate.
That's it, man. And you know, I think that is the way that life is designed, Jeff. And you can ask anyone out there that's really reached the top of the game, reached their pinnacle. They had to start off at the bottom, man. And that's the way the SEAL training is designed. That's the way life after the SEAL teams is designed. I did a similar thing, man. When I was medically retired from the teams, I went and cut grass for a living. And it was just a way for me. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And not that there's anything wrong with people that cut grass for a living. There's a lot of money to be made there in that industry. But it was a way for me just to get my hands back in the dirt, man, and to humble myself and then build off of that. So it's just, I just really feel like that's part of the design, and that you know, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a business idea, you have something that you want to go after, don't be afraid to start at the bottom, pulling weeds or scooping dog crap, because that's what's going to get you to the place that you want to be. And without that first step, without that humility, without being there in the trenches, you're never going to reach the top. So it's just by design. Another thing I want to talk about, Jeff, man, you talk about that spirit of positivity, dude. And even if it's false positivity, it's nonetheless, you're speaking it out loud and making it your new reality by having the courage to generate that positivity, even though times may be hard. And you talk about how it spreads to your pack and how it impacts your team there. And what a parallel in life, man. What a way for you to be able to go out and spend time with your dog team and have to portray that positivity. And then you see the way it impacts them. Well, that sets you up for real life, because real life's the same way. That positivity is contagious in the same manner to your team at work or within your business. Gosh, these are just all. Well, and I would bet. Can you even tell a difference in your dogs if you were positive? I mean, do they feed off of?
Oh, absolutely. I guess I learned this lesson actually in the SEAL teams during a heat training block. When we were in Mount Grant, we were summoning Mount Grant, and we were trying to do it within. I think we were doing a 2-dayer, but what happened is weather ruled in, and we were like, "Well, crap, we can't. If we either have to go down, or we're just going to go up and down in one shot, which would have been within 24 hours and would have been a very difficult climb." But being team guys were like, you know what, screw it. We're just going to the top. And then coming back down. So we pushed to the top. And what we didn't realize is once we broke up into the alpines and got above the tree line, everyone was smoked. And we thought we were getting up to the summit. But once we crested that first peak, we realized it was a false peak. And there was another one. And then we kept going and going. We got up to this next one. It was another false peak. There was another one even higher than that one. And we get up into that one, and there was another one even higher. And everybody's attitude went from like, no, we're going to go crush this mountain to, dude, this freaking sucks. So I sensed everyone's like down in the dumps attitude. And I started singing Miley Cyrus's To Climb. You know, it's always going to be an uphill battle. And next thing you know, we had a whole platoon of SEALs singing It's The Climb, Miley Cyrus, as we're going up, and everyone's spirit changed. And it's like, wow, like, just doing something stupid or goofy or weird like that changed the whole vibe of everybody up there. And that's when I realized, like, positive attitudes can spread, but so can negative attitudes. Like, right, they're also, they can be a cancer and can really crush things. So I'm very careful with the vibes I'm throwing out there, my demeanor, my mannerisms, my body language when I'm with the dogs out on the trail. Like, I could be frustrated. Dogs could, like, some days dogs just don't listen well. Some days they do. And you could have a dog causing all sorts of tangles on the line. But if you come down on him for, like, just because you're frustrated and you don't have patience, that dog's going to be a little bit weary of you. Like, what the heck? Like, he's going to lose a little respect, or she's going to lose a little respect. So I always try to pull myself back, and I'm not great at it. I make mistakes daily, but trying to pull yourself back, let your emotions pass, take a breath, and realize, like, what does the pack need right now? They need some happiness. They need some positive attitudes. And sometimes that can make a dog that doesn't want to behave actually behave. And I learned that whenever last summer, actually, or spring, I had a bunch of dogs that wanted to fight. And I'm sure if you talk to some professional dog like trainers, they're gonna tell you they shouldn't have done this. But I threw a couple dogs in a pen that weren't getting along. I was very, very stern with them at first. I made sure they weren't like when they show the body language of I'm showing aggression right now. All I had to do was yell at them like, "Hey, cut that out," and they would stop. But what it was is I went in there with a different attitude from like a nervous, anxious. Like before, like when these dogs would get around each other, I would be so anxious that a fight was happening. So before I put them in there, I was like, I'm just going to be calm, I'm going to try to center myself, ground myself, and see if that, and you know what? And I have a video I posted on Instagram. Jerry pulled into the house a little bit early from work, and all the dogs rushed to the gate, were jumping on the gate. There was no fight. I thought for sure there was going to be a big dog fight, but no, they got along great. That was another eye-opening experience where it's like, I think they read off of your energy. And if you stay positive, it's not a foolproof plan. Like obviously like things can happen and go badly, but it's how you react and well, like, yeah, things can happen, but it's all in how you react can really play a bigger part in what's coming next, you know?
Dude, yeah. So if you are a business owner, if you are in the corporate world, please take these lessons and apply them to your team, because this is the truth in every way, shape, and form. And it's so amazing that you get to practice that every day out there with your team of dogs out on your missions, Jeff. I mean, and I know that now you have opened up opportunities for people, for business leaders, for people in general that want to hone in on their ability to lead, on their teamwork skills, on their ability to portray a positive attitude and impact their team in a positive way. Man, you've opened this up to the public, and I just think that there's so much value there. And I just hope everyone realizes that, if you go out and take one of these trips with Jeff, it's going to just make a difference in your life in general. For me, it's so much beyond just going out there and having the experience of being in Alaska. These are life skills that are transferable, man. And I want to talk about that school that you started in depth here in a minute, Jeff. But one thing I want to hit on real quick, brother, is leadership, man. You talk, you hear a lot nowadays about leadership. It's just a hot topic. There's so many books out there on it. First, I believe that to become a good leader, I feel like you have to learn to be a leader out in the field, doing something like what you're doing, Jeff. That's transferable back to your work life or your business life. I heard you say something about leadership, brother, and being a leader that really impacted me, brother, because it's transferable into my faith. And you said you've got to, with your dogs, you've got to be a leader, and you've got to reach a point where the dogs respect you as a leader, but don't fear you. And the reason that impacted me so greatly is because that's how my relationship with God is. And a lot of people don't understand that. The Bible talks a lot about the fear of the Lord, and it's what it is. It's a healthy fear. It's more of a reverence or respect. And can you talk to us about not only how to develop that, but kind of what that means to you, that difference between fear and respect, especially from a leadership standpoint, brother?
Yeah, that's awesome. The big, I guess for me, I guess I could take it back to whenever I was in the bottom, started at the bottom when I was working with Allie and Alan. If I was working out of fear for them, I wouldn't want to go above and beyond. I'm only doing the bare minimum, right? But because I respected them, or respected their dogs, respected their goals and missions, I wanted to do more for them because I liked them. And that's the same way like it is, I believe, with any company organization. If your employees are working for you, or your dogs are working for you out of fear, or they just are going out of because they need money, or they're not gonna perform to the level that they do it out of respect and love. You know what I mean? If you really love your employees, if you really respect your employees or your employer or whoever you're working for or God or your family, like you're going to want to go above and beyond for them. Where if you're afraid of them, you're doing out of something like not something that's within you. You're doing out of fear of repercussion. You're not going to do it as genuinely from love as you would if you came from anywhere else. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to put it, Jeffrey. It really is, man. So, and I can see this, and I know I keep drawing these parallels, man, but I just think it's so important to, seeing this, what you're doing, brother, really impacting and nurturing your relationship with God, not only understanding that fear and respect aspect, but also the time that you spend out in nature, man. How's all this, living up there and doing what you do and going out on these adventures? How has this affected your spiritual relationship with God? And any stories behind that, man?
Oh man, being out in nature, I feel like is for me equally as important as praying or spending time with God, because I feel like if you lose track of that, if you don't spend time looking up at the stars and seeing things like with me, I go out and I'm very fortunate to where I can go out and run dogs at night and see the stars and see the aurora borealis and see all these beautiful things that, like, when you've seen them, you think this crap just couldn't happen by accident, right? There's got to be a bigger power. Like, it's just too many crazy things for it all just to happen on happenstance. And another thing it does is it humbles you to the point to where, like, no matter how big, how bad you think you are, nature can kill you, right? It'll put you in your place quicker than anything else, because if you get caught in the extreme of the extremes, there's nothing you are physically human capable of doing. Actually, if nature wanted to, it would crush you. Nature can crush you. Whether you're in the water, whether you're up in the Arctic, whether you're in the desert. If nature really wanted to, you're at the mercy of God then, because if you're really out there, and that's why, like, I'm constantly changing as a musher my goals and stuff, because when I first came up here, I thought that the Iditarod was like the end all for mushing, but now that I'm up here, it's like, I just want to go to the most remote, far off places, and that's so I don't really know which way I'm going to go, but like it's just, man, spending time in nature, so especially when you get in a real, like, remote wilderness where you can run out 100 miles and you stop and you listen. You don't hear a plane. You don't hear a car going by. It's literally all you hear is silence to the point where it's deafening. And it's amazing. It's to experience that. And then you're with a team of a bunch of energetic dogs that are happy to go and love you and you love them. It's a beautiful experience.
Yeah. And, you talked about that, kind of where you're at with your goals, Jeff. And I see that in myself a lot too, man, with ultra running. Ultra running for me, yeah, when I first started out, I was so focused on just racing and winning. And I realized that I wasn't getting near as much out of the races that I won as I was getting out of the races that I finished maybe middle of the pack, and enjoyed my time in nature, enjoyed the adventure, enjoyed the team of people that was out there to support me, and also enjoyed the other people that were running the race. And so I've kind of drawn the same conclusion when it comes to ultra running. I look at a 100-mile race now, and, I don't necessarily, I may go out maybe 2 or 3 races a year. I go out to win those races. And that's just to, I don't know, maybe to stoke that competitive spirit within me. But other than that, dude, I'm all about the adventure, getting out in those remote places and just experiencing nature, man. That's the same way I am with ultra running, dude. So that's an awesome
spirits, man. That's exactly that's where my passion is too.
Yep, no doubt, Jeffrey. So there's so many things that can be learned. Another one that I kept thinking of as you were talking through the details of these races, man, is attention to detail. I can't imagine any place on earth or any activity that would teach you attention to detail like what you're doing is, because you're in an environment that if you make a mistake, if you overlook a minor detail, not only could a member of your pack die, but you could die because of the harshness of the elements. So, I just think that's a big one that people could really come out and spend time with you and practice that skill and learn from you, man, what attention to detail really is. Not just saying the words, what is it really? Let's see. And Jeffrey's a man to teach you about it. And I want to talk to you about the school, man, about what you guys are offering now, and just give us a quick rundown, brother. A lot of our listeners are out there to build their life resumes. They're entrepreneurs. They're fitness ultra runners or fitness gurus. So this kind of stuff that you're throwing out, Jeffrey, is just, I think, one of the most valuable resources that's on the market today. So give us a rundown about it, brother.
Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate that. But yeah, so what we're offering here is for this one, and it's going to grow into something bigger next year for sure. We're already planning on down the road, but we have a cabin right beside our house that has its own dog yard. So if you want to come out and learn all about dog mushing, how to be the leader of a pack of dogs and how to incorporate that into your daily life, and you'll see how that can trickle in. And two, what the dogs do to you and what it does for me is whenever you're hooking up, the dogs are so happy to go. They're so energetic. They love to run. And that is, you could be feeling a little bit down. You'd be like, I don't really feel like going for a run today. But once you get out there and you see how happy and excited and energetic the dogs is, that energy is going to transfer over to you. And then you're going to be happy and ready to go and amped up to go. But so you're going to have, if you want to do this, you have your own cabin. It's a dry cabin. So it doesn't have running water. It has an outhouse. And you'll learn how to run a wood stove. You'll learn how to survive in a pretty much a rustic cabin in Alaska in the wintertime, having your pack of dogs right next to you with your own private dog yard, your own sled. And we're going to go run some dogs. We're going to learn some wintertime survival skills. We'll learn fire build. We'll do whatever it is that you want to learn while you're up here. We can make it happen. But the biggest thing that you're going to take away from it is just, one, the beauty of Alaska, the ability to drive a dog team, and how to take that skill and put that into your daily life. How to harness that energy. And maybe if you don't have that positive energy right now, you'll learn how to fake it, especially if you have a business, and how to make that transition into happy employees and maybe after that. So that's some things that you'll be able to take away.
Yeah. Something else I like that you said earlier is when you come into the checkpoints, the first thing you do is start taking care of dogs of your team. So I think that's something that could be taken away too, because if you put your focus on others, I'm sure you're wore out too. Probably not as much as the dogs, but it'd be easy for you to go lay down in your tent or cabin, whatever they have prepared for you there, and say, I'm going to take care of the dogs after I get rest and get a meal. But the first thing you said you do is spread straw for them. You prepare their bed, they lay down, you start taking care of them. And after all that's done, then you go take care of yourself. So I think that's a valuable lesson to be team gear before personal gear, right?
Absolutely, man. And that's one thing. I can't claim that these are strategies that I came up with, because I was fortunate enough within my SEAL career to have great leaders and mentors that I took what they taught me and I'm transforming it into my kennel now. And then that's kind of how I'm structuring how I do my training and how I run my pack is very similar to that, and it's like you run into a situation, it's the same thing, you run into a situation where you're hurt, maybe some dogs, you've got self-aid, but buddy-aid, Corbin-aid, you got to do that. It's the same kind of training, same kind of mentality, but it's very similar. It all kind of goes together. It's really cool.
It is, man. And that's what that's what you're doing, Jeff, with that activity, man, is you're providing a platform. It is the way I look at it. You're providing a platform for people to better themselves on a just multiple levels, man. That's what's so cool about this activity of dog mushing to me. So this school, Jeff, I mean, how exclusive is this, man? Because I know you got limited time. I mean, you got limited time that you guys are out there and able to go out on these missions, and you know the snow eventually melts. So how exclusive is this, man? Do you guys have a cap on how many you're going to run each winter, or where you at with that?
We're just starting out. We don't really know how many we're going to be able to offer. And with Jerry working a full-time job, and we also have a son now, scheduling is all going to have to be done through email to make sure I can get a babysitter if I need to, or make sure it's working off with Jerry's schedule. So scheduling could be a little bit tricky, but if you email, we can make things work. We'll make it work. All the bookings done for this will be done through email, and you can send me an email at info@frozentrident.com. And you can find that information in my in my Instagram or on my website.
And is this one-on-one? One person comes up and y'all work?
For this year, it's going to be one-on-one. Next year, what we're going to do is we're going to have a cabin that can sleep about 6 people. So we'll be able to up it to about 6 or 8 people at a time.
Okay. That's amazing, brother. I love it. I got to ask you, man, I haven't got to talk to you since Atlas was born. And for the listeners, Atlas is Jeff's son. How's Atlas doing, man? And I know it's really soon to talk about it, man, but is there any lessons that were learned in kind of that battle that he had to fight through to get to the point he is now?
I'm so glad you asked this question, and absolutely, man. There's so many silver linings to take away from this, and it's so. For anyone who doesn't know, my son was born on July 30th, and happy, healthy baby. And then all of a sudden, one day I came in, and he was he was sick. He had a fever for no apparent reason. We rushed him, took him to the ER, ended up getting diagnosed with meningitis. Got life flighted from Fairbanks or medevac from Fairbanks to Anchorage. While he was medevac, he had a stroke and started having seizures. And while he was in Anchorage for a while in the pediatric ICU, and while he was there, so while he got medevac, I had to come back here because I had to take care of the dogs. Jerry was in Anchorage, I was in here. Luckily, I have an amazing family, and my dad was able to fly up from Pennsylvania to take care of the dogs. So I was able to fly to Anchorage. And when I got into Anchorage, his seizures were happening more frequently. And they were also like, he wasn't breathing when he was going apneic whenever he was seizing up. It seemed like he was maxed out on antibiotics. He was maxed out on Tylenol for his fever, but it seemed like nothing was happening. Like he was only getting worse and worse and worse as time went on. And that was like the lowest point to where like I felt like no matter what I would pray, no matter like I knew there was a bunch of people praying for my family and stuff back home, but I felt like nothing. I didn't feel like anything was being heard, and I didn't feel like anything was happening. And I was honestly about ready to give up on prayers and everything. And then I actually had the most real conversation I ever had with God when I prayed. I told him, like, I think this is a bunch of BS, that like here I am, like I'm trying, and like I don't have a whole lot of faith. I remember telling him, like, I don't have a whole lot of faith, but I remember by seeing that if you only had a faith of a mustard seed, you're going to do something, and you can move a mountain with that. And I was like, well, I got a mustard seed left. That's about it. He's like, and I know that's probably not the right way to pray, but that was me being real. And shortly after that, my sister put together a beautiful prayer service in my hometown. And it seemed like everybody that knew me came to that. And then my buddy Sean had a video on YouTube and there was a bunch of people started sending me videos. I had I could never respond to them all. People telling me that they don't pray, but they're praying now, and that like God, they're not. They've never had faith before, but through this, it was amazing to see. I had people from Turkey sending me prayer messages in Arabic, and it was just such a beautiful thing to see that there are so many good people left in this world that like when you turn on the news and you watch what's going on in the world, you tend to like think like there's just hate and chaos going around everywhere. But really, I don't think that's the case. I think there's a lot more genuinely nice people filled with love that's not being highlighted. And I think that's wrong. And it was so beautiful to see but once that happened, it was like a light came on in the room. Atlas's seizure stopped. His fever broke. He went from being fed via a hose to now he was sucking on a pacifier and breastfeeding, and they were so close to intubating him that they were like, yeah, he's and actually before this even happened, a doctor told Jerry that since he's deteriorating with he's not getting better despite all the antibiotics and Tylenol and medication, that to expect the worst, he's going to have to overcome the worst if he wants to survive. And that's like, we were at the point to where we thought we were going to leave Anchorage without our son. Like we were mentally preparing ourselves for that possibility. And like the worst part was there's no amount of effort or anything that you can do to stop any of it. So like sitting there and you just watch your son have a seizure and stop breathing and like there's nothing you can do, man, it breaks your heart. It's one of the but like once everything happened, it was my faith may have only had a mustard seed before all this happened, but now it's like, holy crap, like there's no other explanation. It's to be in that situation, I think the only way that you would be able to really understand it, like the doctors even said that there's a power in that room that you just feel it when you walk in. And like hearing a doctor say that is kind of crazy. It brought me back to made me closer to God. It took away any doubt that I had. And I can't really explain it, man. I don't really have the words for it.
I'm speechless, brother. Yeah, we could sit here and talk about the power of prayer, and we've all got stories, Jeffrey. But I'm gonna tell you right now, brother, I don't think I got a story to top that one, my man. It's real. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's real. It's undisputable. And thank you so much, brother, for having the courage to share that with us and with the world. Because I think that's a testimony that can really change people's lives, man. And it's what do you think, Blake?
It's hard to say a whole lot to it. I mean, that like you said, you can't explain it till you. I've had experiences on a much smaller level where I've saw power, the power of prayer, but I've never been in that position that you were in, Jeff. But I mean, that's just amazing to be able to see it firsthand. I know it sucks going through it, but the outcome you got of it probably outweighs what you went through. Where you and your wife are now and how you feel about your son, and I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, and since he had the stroke was on the back right part of his brain, and when he first got the scan of it, it was a pretty large size stroke. It was a pretty significant size. So like even though he was stable now, the doctors were saying that there's a chance that he could have severe disabilities or he could not have any disabilities. And right now where he's at, we have an occupational therapist come out monthly to work with him, and he's doing everything a 4-month baby should be doing. And we're so thankful. I'm so thankful for Instagram, for all of our friends and followers and family for sending out their prayers and good vibes. And I can't thank people enough for showing the love. And that's kind of like there's so much there's so much love out there, man. It's kind of crazy that sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but there's so many good people out there.
There is, brother. Yeah, you step away from what the media is telling you, and you experience something like what you experienced. You realize that there is still so many good human beings in this world, coming from all walks of life, man. And you came through the fire, Jeff, and that wasn't God. That wasn't a fire that God built for you. That was just the fire of life, man. You came through that fire, brother, and now you come out purified, man, like pure gold, brother. And I'm just so happy for you. I'm so happy for Atlas. I'm so thankful for your testimony. I'm so thankful to God for healing your son. Yeah, I'm gonna thank him tonight when I pray for working that miracle, brother. And it's speechless, man. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Jeffrey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And man, you've made this episode so easy, dude. I'm not even going to edit this because there wasn't a single word said that doesn't need to be heard, in my opinion.
We're going to have to do a part 2.
Yeah. So this is easy day, brother.
Oh, yeah,
Let's see. I want you to real quick, just so people don't have to look at the show notes. How can they find you on Instagram, and also what is your website, man?
My Instagram handle is Frozen Trident. And my website is frozentrident.com. And those are the best ways to get a hold of me. And my email's on the website there. And if not, it's info@frozentrident.com.
Roger that. Yeah, and I checked out that site, dude. You guys did an awesome job on the site. It flows really well. I mean, it's very, very professionally done. So good on you on that. I mean, it's just like every other aspect of you, Jeff. It's a reflection of every other aspect of you, your attention to detail, your flawless reputation. And if any of you guys are thinking about going out and spending time with Jeffrey, if you're on the fence, I'll go ahead and give him a little third-party credibility right here. I can tell you right now, he is one of the most outstanding individuals that the SEAL teams, in my opinion, has ever produced. And you can ask me or any other SEAL, and like I said, they're going to tell you the exact same thing. And this goes beyond the SEAL teams. I mean, I think any individual that has ever spent any time with Jeff is going to tell you the exact same thing. So he's the real deal, and give him a shout out. And we're going to push this episode out to as many people as we possibly can, brother, because I'm going to tell you right now, I think it's going to make an awesome impact, and we can't thank you enough for your time, Jeffrey.
Brother, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you letting me come out here. I love you guys.
All right, guys. This is the 3 of 7 podcast. Enough said.